Denise Gwen, reading aloud for you from my short story, The Greasy Spoon, Chapter 50. Once out on the open road, he floored it. After a little while, Maria crawled up from the well and snuggled in next to him. He indulged in a moment's reverie. As a child, he'd taken such comfort from his parents' tremendous love for one another. And now that he was an adult, he marveled at it and wondered if he'd ever experienced such a great love for himself. And Maria had reminded him of something his mother liked to do. Sitting up close next to his dad whenever they went off-roading in the mountains of Tennessee on the odd weekend when they needed some time away. Blinked back the moisture in his eyes. He missed his folks. He bumped Maria's elbow and she looked up at him with shining eyes. "Put on your seatbelt," he said. She gazed at him with confusion. "Here." He dug his fingers between the cracks of the torn leather seating and fumbled around for a bit through layers of dirt and grime and muck until his fingers felt something small and hard, and he dug out the buckle. He reached across her waist and fumbled for the lap belt. He pulled on the retractor to release the webbing and guided it across her waist and snapped the tongue into the buckle, then pulled it taut. "There," he said, "now you're safe." "See, now I'm safe." She wept for a few minutes, kissed his face several times, then rested her head on his right shoulder. The soothing rumble of the truck relaxed her. Her head grew heavy, her body warm, and she dozed off. Blue and red sirens raced toward him from Parkersburg, heading for the farm. "Ah, so the police have been alerted at last." He grabbed a baseball cap off the dashboard. He had his choice, there were plenty. Yanked the bill down low over his forehead and kept his gaze steady and unflinching as a cacophony of sirens swept past him. Good. And now that he and Maria were safe, he had the leisure to think on what was coming. There'd be an investigation. Oh, for sure there'd be an investigation. A sobering thought. I might get charged with murder. Only he had a pretty good idea it'd get knocked down to justifiable homicide or perhaps even self-defense. He'd better lawyer up. That was for good and sure. He snorted with laughter. His lily-white, wing-tip shoe law firm handled only litigation and white-collar crime. But he had a few friends from law school who practiced criminal defense. "I'll give Robbie a call." No, the criminal aspect of this case certainly didn't appeal to him. But it didn't bother him too much, not really. What did concern him was the disciplinary council of the Ohio Supreme Court. Now that did concern him. He ran through his responses to the inevitable questions. How could you abandon your friend? Well, he was dead, and I didn't want to be next. Why did you shoot Clem Albaugh when he clearly wasn't pointing a rifle at you? Now that was a tricky question. Clem hadn't pointed a gun at him. And who's to say the old guy couldn't have been talked out of shooting him? But Nick had had a choice to make, and he'd made it, and he had to live with it. And so his response to the lead counsel of the Disciplinary Council of the Supreme Court of Ohio would be along the lines of, well, you all weren't there and I was, and I made a snap decision, so you can all of you fuck the hell off. But still, questions, there'd be lots of questions. Why didn't you stay at the farm to answer the police officer's questions? Because I didn't want to get shot by accident by some good old boy who was best friends with the family or a distant cousin. That's why I stopped later on that day at the State Highway Patrol and turned myself in. He was getting closer to the village. Folks were paying attention. At last, there'd be an investigation. Good, and more good. Why, there was goodness all around.